Hello guys, I watched everything that was open, starting with the Oval Office press conference between Zelensky and Trump and finishing with the discussion between the US president and the European leaders. I'm super grateful that they show up and stressed that Ukrainian security equals European security. To tell you the truth, a lot has changed since the last visit of President Zelensky to the Oval Office. First of all, you've got way more golden decorations on the fireplace. They keep talking about Zelensky's suit, but there is one more thing that also changed on the Ukrainian side. We have just introduced the real long-range ballistic missile Flamingo produced in Ukraine, capable of reaching 3,000 kilometers deep inside, I think you can guess, deep inside Russia, carrying 1,000 kilograms of explosives and traveling at a speed over 950 kilometers. But let's discuss what were the most important topics that these European leaders managed to speak loud and clear, and Trump seemed very dissatisfied and actually will need to discuss it more with Putin. The traditional 2-3 weeks are given again, but I'm really happy that these real red lines of the democratic world were identified and set as unchangeable. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see the implementation of the only working peace plan to defeat and demilitarize Russia, subscribe, I'm sure we will discuss that on the channel sometime soon. So we were all worried for the conversation between Trump and Zelensky, remembering a very awful ambush organized by Trump and J.D. Vance to our president at the very beginning of his second term, and it didn't turn out well for Trump, so I knew it will not be that bad. Plus, another ambush actually happened, if it's possible to use this word, for Trump himself, because I'm very grateful to all the good American people, those who support Trump, those who do not support Trump, for their reaction on this ceremonial meeting of Putin, the bloody war criminal that literally, I believe, 99% of Americans did not like. So they kept talking about President Zelensky's suit, forgetting about the sweater of Lavrov with USSR on it, but let's be different. And in general, we may say that Trump used that press conference to speak about himself. And when I listened to him attentively, because, you know, despite war, I'm lucky that I don't have to listen to him on a daily basis. And it was literally very difficult to find sense. And I've realized that if I had to speak and quarrel with Donald Trump, I wouldn't quarrel with him. You know why? Because there is very little sense in what he was saying, and he used that as a PR move for himself, but he failed that PR move, especially when talking about Washington and that finally it's safe, and for the first time in years people managed to go to a restaurant. And also kept quoting Putin and his election advice, ballots, and so on. It was very irrelevant, a little bit inadequate, so let's return to more serious things. And President Zelensky started it with a very strong move, I believe, sending gratitude and passing on a letter of our First Lady to Melania. And she recently wrote a letter to Putin about the Ukrainian children. Honestly, I did not find any strong messages there, but it was a very beautiful precedent for one good journalist asking a question that Melania addressed Putin with such letter about the stolen Ukrainian children. Did she need to send a similar letter to Ukraine? It was pretty obvious that the journalist hinted that it's Russia who's the aggressor, who steal Ukrainian children, and Trump did not know what to say. So anyway, another question that made me feel angry was about whether Zelensky is prepared to send more people on the front lines, forgetting one very important question, one very important aspect, that we are actually defending our country, so we don't have much choice. And this question should have been addressed to dictator Putin, but somehow I don't remember any joint press conference held between Putin, Trump, and the journalist with real questions asked. And here I want a shout out to Rachel Scott, who asked Putin, when will he stop killing Ukrainian civilians? This matters, and this is how real journalists work. Subscribe, share, demonstrate your solidarity with Ukraine. This helps us a lot. So now, please compare the meeting of Zelensky and the best leaders of the European Union with the meeting with Putin. Trump was super excited, Trump applauded, there was a red carpet rolled, nothing like that, but literally we don't need it. And to tell you the truth, I don't like the decorations on a fireplace, and it seems like not many of you like that too. At the same time, please compare the way the whole meetings were held, forgetting about this ceremonial stuff. Journalists were able to ask questions. They were able to attack Zelensky. They were able to attack European leaders. That's a part of a discussion, if you want to say. And with Putin, there was no conversation, no dialogue, no direct questions asked. And it looked like, I'm sorry, MAGA, it did look like the master came, gave his commands to Trump and declined the lunch and returned back to Russia. No conversation, no questions asked, no discussions. So I'm really happy that we were not alone and that so many European leaders showed up, and I know that many more support us, and not just in the European Union, in different countries, but I watched attentively how they kept asking different questions and setting demands. And it looked like a very well-prepared diplomatic move, because each leader had his or her own important aspect that couldn't be let out. For example, Merz was speaking about the ceasefire, and I will remind you that a ceasefire is an important precondition of any peace talks. And that was the idea of Donald Trump, where he talked a lot about stop the killing, and ceasefire is actually stop the killing. Now he tries to say that he ended 6 more wars without a ceasefire, but that is BS, because people, you never say that you have ended a war days after the shooting stopped. Give it a year, give it 5 years, give it 10 years, and then you may say. So with this kind of approach, ceasefire is necessary. It's a part of any serious peace negotiation process. Trump had this idea himself, Zelensky supported it, and all people that really want to end the war agree on that immediately. And Merz, Chancellor of Germany, kept reminding about that. But Trump kept asking him about the tan, because he liked the tan of the German Chancellor, and I guess that is more important than the return of the stolen Ukrainian children. So one of these important preconditions is a ceasefire. And any leader or dictator that really wants to end the war agrees on that. Another important thing that President Macron of France raised is that security guarantees are important, and Meloni kept speaking about Article 5 or something similar, and they repeatedly stated, and that's very important for me, that the security of Ukraine means the security of Europe. And even if Donald Trump wants to appease Putin, he cannot make European leaders do that. And for example, if he stops supporting Ukraine, he should continue selling the weapons for Ukraine for money. That is an argument that will be very difficult for him to contradict. I do have this suspicion that Putin indeed has something on Trump, and we all guess what, because he's so openly pro-Russian. that is like, even if I were like your enemy, but I needed to be shrewd and smart, I wouldn't act that openly. I would be more in disguise, and he cannot do it. He openly speaks for Putin. He says, we need to do this, we need to do that. And when he was caught on a hot mic, he was saying, I just have a feeling he wants to make this deal for me. A person that killed thousands of innocent people, broke the international law, and he's got the feeling. And what will happen when Trump is not around? No one in Ukraine will accept another Budapest memorandum. And honestly, we have a bunch of agreements according to which Russia respects our territorial integrity, sovereignty, and does not invade us. And a bunch of these agreements were verified by the European leaders. That is why our number one priority is strong Ukrainian army. And I'm so happy that we showed the tests of the Ukrainian-built long-range ballistic missiles, 3,000 kilometers. That is pretty long range missile, and we might need it to implement the only working peace plan to defeat and demilitarize Russia. And please subscribe to my new channel too, Anna Danilchuk, whereas, for example, my fresh video about me on Piers Morgan show and how I felt there as an ordinary Ukrainian who are very rarely given the voice. Trump brought a map that was supposed to, puzzle President Zelensky, but that map was actually an illustration of the broken international law. That was an illustration of the broken borders, and Trump so fiercely speaks about the protection of borders. And that was also an illustration that during these 2 years, Russia managed to get 1% of Ukrainian territory, because the majority it got at 2022 when we were totally unprepared. And now, 1 million lost and 1%. So all the intelligence, including the American intelligence, but somehow Donald Trump does not listen to American, he prefers Russian intelligence, claim that to capture all of Ukraine, Putin would need 100 years. So why would we agree to capitulate? Just because Trump wants a Nobel Peace Prize for winning 6 Star Wars? That is so humiliating to watch. And a funny thing, I have come across this on X. Someone said European leaders had to take a day off to babysit Donald Trump. Well, that's true, I'm sorry, but that's exactly like that. And when they listen to him and they praise him, it doesn't come naturally. It's a way to somehow slow him down in his desire to break this normal democratic world. We are preparing, we are building long-range missiles, developing our alliances, and we don't want Trump to break the United States too, because that's a great democracy, and all presidents are temporary, and strong countries, they should survive these difficult periods. So Russia is not a strong country, and they had to stop the work of 4 oil refineries after the recent visits of Ukrainian drones. Imagine what we can do with our long-range missiles. So honestly, no one in Ukraine is prepared to surrender. What makes me feel better is that no one in the European Union is prepared to surrender. And the face of Donald Trump after each of these meetings tells it all. He does not know what to do, how to satisfy the demands of the Kremlin and still pretend that he is the boss. Let me know what are your impressions, what are your thoughts, and there are some really good news about the Russian economy. Would you like a video about that? Drop your comments, like, share these videos, let people know the truth, because unfortunately the Russian propaganda manipulates minds so well that now it is broadcast directly from the White House, but not on the day of Zelensky and EU leaders' visit. Once again, people of the United States, I want to thank you for your unwavering support and that you clearly demonstrate your stance very different from Donald Trump. I want to thank all the EU leaders and people of the European Union who inspire your leaders to stand together, because trust me, it's not about Ukraine, it's about the world order, international law, and we need to see Putin in The Hague. Imagine what a beautiful vlog that would be. Subscribe, join me on X, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, X, all the links in the description, same as the link to our merch shop with a new summer drop. And yes, we have a t-shirt for Russian geography lessons and more to come. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my patrons and sponsors of the channel. Thank you for being friends of mine and friends of Ukraine. And united we stand. Slava Ukraini!